Hello, little listener. Tonight's story is about the moon, not just shining above us, but listening every night for its very favorite lullaby. Every night, the moon rose quietly into the sky. It didn't make a sound. It simply watched the world grow sleepy, windows dimming, stars blinking on, trees whispering to the wind. But there was something the moon loved more than anything: lullabies. Not loud ones, not fancy ones, just the soft hums that parents sang, the little tunes whispered into tiny ears, the melodies that floated gently up into the sky. The moon listened closely. It had favorites, of course, like the one a mother sang to her baby in a rocking chair by the window, or the soft hum of a father brushing back a child's hair as they closed their eyes. But one night, the moon heard something new. It came from a small village where a girl named Ilara sang quietly to her little brother. She didn't know all the words. Her voice was a bit wobbly, but it was real, warm, true. The moon leaned in closer, casting a soft glow through their window. The lullaby floated upward like a feather in the air. Close your eyes, the stars are near. Sleep will find you, have no fear. The moon sighed. It was the kind of song that felt like a blanket. From that night on, the moon returned to Ilara's window every evening, just in time for her lullaby. Sometimes the stars twinkled along with the rhythm. Sometimes the breeze slowed down to listen. Ilara never noticed, but her brother always fell asleep faster. And the moon? It glowed a little brighter each night, because even though it had heard lullabies for thousands of years, that one, simple and soft, became its very favorite. Tonight, if you sing softly, hum gently, or even whisper to the quiet, the moon might be listening. And it just might smile. Good night.
Good evening, little dreamer. Tonight's story is about a soft, curious pillow and its quiet journey following the moon across the sky. In a small, quiet bedroom, there lived a pillow named Muna. She was just like any other pillow, fluffy, gentle, and perfectly shaped for sleepy heads. But Muna had one special wish. She wanted to know where the moon went after everyone fell asleep. Each night, the moon would rise, casting soft, silver light across the room. Muna would watch from under the sleepy child's head, feeling the moonlight touch her fabric. It felt like magic. One night, as the child slept deeply and quietly, a gentle breeze slipped through the window, and something strange happened. Muna wiggled. She lifted, just a little, then floated softly into the air. She looked back once, making sure the child was still sleeping peacefully. Then, slowly and silently, she drifted out the window, following the moon. The moon moved gently across the sky, and Muna floated behind it like a sleepy balloon. She passed over rooftops and forests, over quiet lakes and yawning animals. She saw raccoons cuddling under trees, deer resting in tall grass, and owls blinking slowly from branches. Everyone was calm. Everyone was dreaming. As she followed the moon, Muna noticed how it never rushed. It moved with grace, like a lullaby without music. That's when Muna realized something beautiful. The moon wasn't just moving through the sky, it was watching over the whole world, spreading quiet wherever it went. And now Muna was a part of that quiet, floating gently and carrying stillness with her. Eventually, the moon began to lower toward the horizon. It was time to say goodnight. For real. Muna understood. She turned, floated back across the rooftops, back into the quiet bedroom, and settled softly beneath the child's dreaming head. She didn't need to ask where the moon went anymore. She had followed it, felt it, understood it. Now, she was filled with moonlight of her own. Tonight, rest your head gently on your pillow. It may not float, but it knows the moon's path, and it's ready to carry your dreams there too. Good night. Hello, Soft Explorer. Tonight's story is about a closet. Not one full of clothes, but one with a hidden doorway to a land made entirely of pillows. In a quiet bedroom, in the corner near the nightlight, stood a small white closet. To most, it looked ordinary, a place for pajamas, socks, and maybe a toy or two on the bottom shelf. But to a little girl named Leela, it was something more. Because one evening, just before bed, she heard a soft poof coming from inside. She opened the door slowly, and instead of shelves and hangers, she saw pillows! Thousands of them, fluffy, floating, stacked high and deep like clouds in a soft sky. A gentle wind blew through, smelling like warm blankets and sleepy dreams. Leela stepped inside. The ground was made of bouncy cushions. The trees were tall stacks of pillows with feathery leaves, and the sky above shimmered with gentle bedtime colors: lavender, silver, pale blue. She walked through the pillow world barefoot, each step as light as air. No one hurried there, no one shouted. Only soft yawns, slow stretches, and cozy sighs. Leela met creatures made of pillows too. A round owl who blinked slowly and spoke in hums. A cat who purred lullabies, and a sleepy dragon who curled up beside her and offered a wing as a blanket. There were no clocks in Pillow World, no rules, just rest. When Leela grew sleepy, a bed of marshmallowy fluff appeared beneath her. She lay down, hugged a pillow as big as the moon, and closed her eyes inside the dream. And just like that, she was gently back in her own room in her own bed, with her closet door slightly ajar and a single feather on the floor. From that night on, whenever she needed calm or comfort, she'd open the closet slowly and listen. If she heard the poof, she knew the pillow world was waiting. Tonight, before you sleep, take a peek at your closet. Maybe, just maybe, a pillow world is waiting behind it. Good night. Hello again, little dreamer. Tonight's story is about a tiny star who didn't rush through the sky because it loved taking the long way home. Far above the clouds, in the soft, dark blanket of the night, lived a small star named Nilo. Every evening, the stars would rise, sparkling and twinkling, racing to their places in the sky. But Nilo, he always arrived last, not because he was late, but because he liked to wander. While the others zoomed straight up, Nilo would glide gently past rooftops, dip near sleepy rivers, and peek into quiet windows. He wasn't in a hurry. He liked to watch the world fall asleep. One night, while floating above a quiet town, Nilo saw a child sitting by a window holding a drawing of a star. The child said and said, I wish I had a real star for a friend. Nilo paused. He glowed a little brighter, then drifted closer, not too close, just enough to let his light dance on the window glass. The child blinked, a sparkle, then another. It felt like a wave, a quiet wave from the sky. Nilo didn't say a word, but he stayed there, floating gently, letting the child feel noticed. Then, when the child's eyes grew heavy, Nilo twirled slowly and floated upward, finally taking his place in the sky. Not the fastest, not the brightest, but the kindest light in the sky that night. And from that evening on, the child always looked for the one star that arrived just a little late. Tonight, before you fall asleep, look out your window, just for a moment. If you see a star that's not in a hurry, maybe it's Nilo, taking the long way home just to check on you. Good night, gentle traveler. Hello again, nature dreamer. Tonight's story is about a quiet forest, one that didn't just rest near your window, but gently fell asleep right along with you. Not far from a small cottage at the edge of the world, there was a forest. It wasn't a big forest, not the kind with howling wolves or deep dark caves. It was a sleeping forest. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, the forest began its bedtime routine. Just like you. First, the trees stretched their branches and shook off the last golden light. Their leaves rustled softly. Good night, sky. Then the animals got ready. The squirrels tucked themselves into tiny holes, tails wrapped around like fluffy blankets. The owls blinked slowly, perching quietly under the moon. Even the insects dimmed their songs to a low, gentle hum. But what made this forest special wasn't just how it slept, it was that it waited for you. Every night, when the little child in the cottage, you, laid your head on the pillow, the forest listened. If your breathing slowed, the river slowed too. If your eyes began to close, the stars peeked out through the treetops. If you whispered a sleepy thought, the wind carried it gently across the moss and stones. And once you were fully asleep, the forest slept too. The trees stood still like statues, the grass stopped swaying, even the moonlight softened as if it didn't want to disturb a single dream. It wasn't lonely. The forest liked sleeping with you, because it knew that in the morning, when you woke up and stretched, so would it. You and the forest shared dreams of glowing mushrooms, talking fireflies, and gentle fog that curled like ribbons around sleepy animals. And every night, as long as you lay safe in your bed, the forest curled up beside you like a quiet friend who never needed to speak. Tonight, as you close your eyes, know this. Outside your window, the forest is waiting, and when you fall asleep, it will too. You're never sleeping alone. Good night. Hello again, sleepy friend. Tonight's story is about a pair of tiny shoes that didn't move during the day, but danced, skipped, and wandered far once dreams began. In a quiet corner of a little room sat a pair of soft shoes. They were not shiny. They weren't new. They had no laces, no lights, no squeaks. No squeaks. But they had something special inside them. dream steps. You see, these shoes had been worn by many children before, and every time they carried a child through dreams, they remembered. They remembered puddles made of stars, clouds that bounced, and playgrounds built in the sky. Now they belonged to a girl named Mira. Each morning, Mira would slip them on and shuffle around the house. They didn't go fast. They didn't make much noise. They were just shoes. But at night, once Mira climbed into bed, closed her eyes, and drifted off, the shoes woke up. Very quietly, they wiggled their soles, stretched their tiny tongues, and tiptoed to the edge of the bed. And then they lifted into the air, one step, then two, and waited for Mira's dream to begin. In her dream, Mira would find herself walking through gardens that glowed in the dark, where butterflies wore pajamas and trees told bedtime jokes. The shoes always knew where to go. Sometimes they led her over dream bridges that swayed gently over lullaby rivers. Sometimes they took her across soft sand that hummed with sleepy melodies. Sometimes they just walked beside her, step by step, while the stars above blinked in rhythm. Mira never tripped, never got lost, because the shoes remembered every dream they had ever visited. And when the dream was done, and morning light kissed the sky, the shoes quietly returned to the corner, still, soft, silent, waiting for the next adventure. So tonight, if your shoes are resting by your bed, thank them gently. They just might be waiting for your dream to begin. Good night. Hi there, little one. Are your hands still and your eyes getting soft? It's the perfect time for a quiet story about a crayon that only came to life when the world was fast asleep. In a small wooden box, tucked inside a quiet drawer, lived a set of crayons. They were bright, colorful, and loved to be used during the day. But there was one crayon, a little blue one, that never got picked. During art time, the red and yellow made suns, the green made trees, the pink made hearts. But the little blue crayon waited quietly, hoping just once to be chosen. He wasn't jealous, just patient. But something magical happened every night. Once the house went quiet and the lights were off, that's when the drawer slowly opened and the blue crayon rolled out on his own. The moonlight shone through the window and the crayon began to draw. Not pictures of flowers or houses. He drew dreams. He slid across pages and walls, drawing winding staircases through the stars, boats made of pillows, and clouds shaped like lions that purred. He didn't need a hand to hold him. The night itself guided his movement. Every drawing faded before morning, as if it had never been there. But one night, a little boy named Jonah woke up early and saw a trail of glowing blue across the floor. Curing. He followed it, eyes wide and sleepy, until he found the crayon, still humming softly with magic. The crayon stopped moving, as if shy. Jonah picked it up, held it gently, and whispered, "Thank you." From then on, every night, Jonah left a blank sheet of paper by the window and whispered before bed, "Draw me something beautiful." And the crayon always did. So if you ever find a tiny mark you don't remember making, or a dream that feels like it was drawn, maybe it was the blue crayon, leaving you a gift in the quiet of night. Good night, little artist. Hello, snuggly friend. Tonight's story is about a teddy bear, quiet and still during the day, but who, once the child falls asleep, wakes up inside their dreams. Tucked in beside a small child named Rosie was a teddy bear named Toby. He didn't talk, he didn't move. At least, not while Rosie was awake. But the moment Rosie drifted off to sleep, Toby's stitched eyes twinkled, and he woke up. Inside her dream. There, Toby was bigger than before, as soft as ever, and full of life. He waited for Rosie each night in the land of quiet stars, a calm, glowing world where trees whispered lullabies and paths were made of clouds. Together, they would ride on the backs of dream turtles, slide down rainbows that hummed with music, and drink warm cups of moonberry tea under glowing lanterns. Toby never rushed her. He always held her hand. And when her dream felt too full or fast, he'd gently say, "Let's slow down." Sometimes, Rosie would dream of being unsure or scared. That's when Toby became even softer, warmer, and braver, wrapping his fuzzy arms around her and making everything feel okay. He remembered every dream, even the ones Rosie forgot when she woke up. And as the sun began to rise and Rosie stirred in bed, Toby would quietly curl back up beside her, going still once more. Just a teddy, just a toy. But inside, he was smiling because he knew tonight we'll dream again. So tonight, when you hug your favorite toy, maybe they'll wake up inside your dreams too. And if they do, don't worry. They already know the way. Good night. Hello, cuddly dreamer. Tonight's story is about a teddy bear. Not just soft and sweet, but one who had a secret hobby, collecting tiny raindrops filled with wishes. In a quiet bedroom, sitting on a windowsill, lived a small teddy bear named Pip. He wasn't new. His fur was a little worn, his left ear leaned slightly to the side, and one button eye was shinier than the other. But Pip was loved, and Pip had a secret. Whenever it rained and the world grew quiet and the soft tapping of droplets filled the air, Pip would reach out one fuzzy paw and catch the raindrops on the windowsill. Not just any drops, wishing drops. Because every time a raindrop fell from the sky, it brought with it a whisper, a tiny floating wish from someone, somewhere. Pip couldn't speak, but he could listen. Some drops whispered things like, "I wish for a warm hug. I wish I could be brave. I hope my dreams are sweet tonight." And Pip, with his little stitched heart, would keep those drops safe. He didn't store them in a jar. He tucked them into the thread of his chest. One by one, they became part of his fluff. The child who owned Pip, Lena, had no idea. She just knew that rainy nights felt cozier when Pip was near. One evening, during a soft drizzle, Lena hugged Pip tightly and whispering, "I wish I could dream about flying." The raindrops on the window shimmered. Pip's heart warmed. That night, Lena dreamed she was soaring through clouds on wings made of cotton candy. And right beside her, Pip, floating too, holding a little umbrella just for fun. By morning, the rain had stopped. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, and Pip, still sitting quietly on the windowsill, smiled with his shiny button eye. He had caught another wish and kept it safe. So tonight, if it rains outside your window, don't be afraid. Maybe your teddy is listening, and maybe your wish is already tucked inside something soft and small. Good night.